All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. 60 to 90 minutes of intellectual conversation for fathers, by fathers, about fathers. Uh, we are here tonight. I know that we're running a little late, but sometimes the train don't leave the station to a certain time, and you don't get back on the track until when you do. But we're here. We're ready. We're ready to talk tonight. Tonight we have some. Tonight and next week we have some new topics that have been brought to us. The first topic tonight is lessons learned and scams to avoid. I am Dr. Ron, the curator, mentor, educator, therapist of the Fatherhood Think Tank. Uh, we're going to, introduce our fathers who are on tonight, and we're gonna jump right into tonight's conversation. Um, so I'll let these guys introduce themselves. Then I will come back, do a couple of advertisements, and then we'll get straight into the conversation. Good night, gentlemen.
Hey, good night, Ron. How was your day?
Hey, man, every day above ground is great. Every day that you're blessed to walk on earth is great.
Mm-hmm.
Every day that you're free to breathe air and be able to bless somebody else is fantastic, brother.
This is true. Those small things will do go far away in some people's eyes. Yep.
Right, you can introduce yourself now, Rohan. I mean, Rohan is like we ain't having coffee.
I'm still sleeping.
And listen, and to be all honest, that's how me and Rohan get together. We get together and just start rapping about life. So that's not shocking.
Right. Sometimes you have to stay focused, as they say. All right. So now, my name is Rohan Rollock. I'm a father of two young adults. The years have changed, right? It was children, teens, now it's adults. Again, we're here sharing knowledge and educating the public and just here to learn and to share.
Rohan, as you say that, it's fantastic to be able to say that, the idea that, hey, when I met you, you had two young children, two young girls, and now they're young adults.
Changes, yeah.
That is always, to me, that's a blessing, and is also to remind us how long we are staying in the world, and that you can actually say, oh, I remember when I almost held these kids in my hand. To now, they taking me somewhere in the car, so it's definitely one of those things. Cool.
Well said.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 3 young women, 4 young men, 1 granddaughter, 1 grandson. Looking forward to connecting with them during the holidays and just counting down to the moments. So that's pretty much it. And it's always a pleasure to be at the Fatherhood Think Tank. It's become like a sort of a religion to me. So I'm just always willing to give to it what it gives to me, and I think the reciprocation is just unimaginable. I can't tell you how much I receive from this platform that inspires me to give to it. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
Same here.
I can't go without just acknowledging as Lightborn said, I think that it's so important to realize that we're having this platform and maintaining it when looking at sponsors, who sponsors us, how we even got started, where we got started. I throw up here Zeta Chi fraternity chapter for a lot of them. They definitely have been a sponsor from the time I got involved when we was in Carter Park. I brought them along with me, and we continued, because what I found is, I think, and I have to honestly agree exactly with Lightborn, this is almost like ritualistic that I must and I will be doing the Fatherhood Think Tank, um, are some facet of it for probably the rest of my life, because of how fulfilling it is to have a place. Look, listen. I can go to church on Sunday, and I can get when I get there and his place there, but it still won't touch me in a way that being around these other men, these other fathers, put something into you, or even enlighten you about something that you probably would have not thought about in that kind of in this kind of space, in a space just for men. So one of our major first, sponsors is um, the Omega Psi Phi chapter of uh, chapter Zeta Chi chapter in Fort Lauderdale, 1954. They were founded, so definitely want to give them a shout out for always being a part of what we have going on. And then we'll go to more of our like corporate kind of sponsor people who sponsor the show, and this thing. And if he's out there watching, he might just be watching. We miss you, Jag, attorney at law, Miami-Dade, Broward County, West Palm Beach. Definitely, Jag has been a loyal sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank from the time of conception of getting involved. And he can also be a loyal attorney that you may need in your corner the way things are going today. So don't dismay. You can always check him out. He's definitely here in the South Florida area. That's Jag, attorney at law. Reach out to Johnny A. Gaspar Esquire. You can reach him at his email, j.gaspar@jag1law.com, or hit him on the number 305-827-8087. Or if you really want to investigate more about what services he provides, what he does over there at Jag Law, check out his website, www.jag1law.com. And that is our major sponsor of the Fatherhood Think Tank. And we want to thank him for always, supporting us and being here the way he does. Even if he's not here, we know we can, we depend on him to give us the ability to maintain this sacred space that we practice, our fellowship and what I would say our fellowship and our continued education, our continued development as men and as fathers. So I just want to throw that in there. All right, so I seen Ed, and he might have got knocked off. Hope not. Oh, there he is. I seen Ed. Let me get him in here. Hey, Ed, we were just talking about you. We seen Ed came on and got knocked off. You're
Yes.
next. You're next up on the intro microphone.
Oh, okay. I was having technical difficulties. I had to reboot. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Ed Tenney. I am a transitioning single dad, father of 3 grown adults, ages 30 to 37, 1 grandbaby and 1 grandbaby on the way. Pleasure to be here.
So tonight, I just, I was, giving his blessings, and me and Lightborn had some conversation about some show topics, some ideas, and I know a couple weeks ago he dropped me this text message about the culture of scamming, right? And I said, oh, you know, it's an interesting topic. But I also thought about how important scamming can be, or the idea of what comes around scamming to us in getting in relationships, becoming fathers. How sometimes we maybe even, you know, some people may feel they were scammed to become a father, right? They've been scammed. Or is the scam that child supported, or how this all that works? And that's why the topic is more of life lessons and scams to avoid, because I think tonight we can share some light on a lot of times people thinking things happen to them, how they happen, but what kind of lesson may it be, or how we operate that. And we know that when we have a topic, the topic can go from uh, idealistic to specific to abstract, and turn all the way back around and hit us right back in the face with simple, keeping it simple and plain, you know. So I want to throw it out there to the guys tonight, you fathers out there. Is there an idea of you thinking a scam that you avoided, and or even a life lesson that may have seemed scammy, that you was able to you know, move through, be able to negotiate, maneuver, or just was able to avoid overall, or in the hard part got set down into, and then had to find a way to get out. So I throw that out to the fathers tonight for us to, you know, begin to bite onto that and see what we can share with the people out there in the audience. Again, if you're listening, like, share, subscribe, so you can get this content and maybe find and help you in your mission, or your travels, or your journey as a father, or even understanding a father.
Okay. Let me put in the word scamming, right? Or scam or scamming. Many people call it different names, yeah. But most times, scamming is the intent is to get money. It's to I would believe to impersonate, or to fool someone, or to pretend to be like someone, to normalize yourself like someone. There are many different ways to look at it, and most most of it again is about money. And there are different types of scamming, right? There is romance scamming, there's uh, business scamming, there is people to people scamming. It is a I love what Lightburn mentioned, the word culture. It seems it's become the culture. It's something that's becoming the norm. And my concern as a father, I'm hearing my daughter tell me that the kids at school, oh, they're busy scamming. I'm like, what? What? They're busy scamming. What's up? 18-year-old telling me that the kids at school are busy scamming, right? Those that concerns me. So this topic really touch base, because I hope it reach out to many fathers and mothers that this need to be observed, and there are severe consequences to these for these actions, or these scams, I should say. Yep.
And let me kind of delve into what you're saying. So this came from an idea of you noticing that your kids was even, and it's funny you say that, because a lot of people don't remember this, or maybe they don't know about this, but during, you know, around the time of COVID in 2020 and all the lockdowns, you see a very high level of people scamming, becoming, getting bucks. I mean, young people learning how to get the
Mhm.
credit card machine, and really to begin to develop a skill. And I always thought about, God, man, these young people had the ability to do this. Imagine if it was like, you know, what the FBI did at one point, you know, went and reached out to them to get them to help, give them the job, the same money that they were scamming, gave them the same, because that's how much a salary would be at, you know,
Mhm.
working for the FBI, CIA, one of these agencies, helping protect the country from people doing that exact same thing, like they did with so many um, viral pirates, people who are internet pirates, and those things. If instead of arresting these guys and messing their, destroying their lives, it's kind of saying, hey, how did y'all learn how to do this? Teach us how to do it. Help us prevent it from happening to other people, because it does happen. The young people that's doing it here, they're not major, um, networks or anything like that. But there are networks from outside of our country, right? Who work at a high level that be putting people in the poorhouse. So it is, you think about that, but then that would take someone to be thinking as a father, I think, to advocate to say, instead of looking at the punishment of young people and their creativity and the ability they have, not to say to exonerate them doing the wrongdoing. I'm never going to say, oh, you do wrong, it's okay. But I'm saying is, how could we turn that upside around? Because what was their purpose for doing that? Their purpose for doing that was to sustain some type of wealth or money, or just to feel like they live in this America, right? To do and have those things. And obviously they know how to work, right? They know how to sit down and do this and get this together. So how didn't we come up with the idea to put them to work to protect the country, to work with the country, to do these kind of things? But that would be, you have to have that foresight of thinking about our young people and our kids and how we operate with them. So I'm glad that you brought that up. I just wanted to expound on that a little bit. Turn it over to anybody else.
I think it's easy, and this is just not young people, but for just human nature to gravitate to what's or taking advantage of what's vulnerable as opposed to taking advantage of what's honorable, right? And so I think all of us struggle between what's vulnerable and what's honorable, and because of that, the PPP loans was so lackadaisical rather, because we had never experienced a real pandemic before, not within the era or within our lifetime. And so I think people was learning to fly the plane as they built it, right? And because of that, people took advantage of it, being kids as well, because they're more technologically savvy, and we test them so much, right? We test them so much that when it comes to logic, economic logic or financial logic, people know what they want, and they want what they know. You understand? And it's not until a person wants something, their wisdom kick in on how to get it. Remember, I told you that want is a very powerful thing. And so once you want something, the want will actually grow the wisdom in you to understand what it takes to really achieve that thing that you want. So, and it works for adults as well as kids. That's just a human nature, a human instinct that we have. But you got to understand, kids weren't the only one that's doing it, because you had adults, very responsible adults, who had by the scope of everything they needed. A lot of them were still working with it because they were first responders. As a matter of fact, in my town or within my region, that they arrested a few of them who was very well to do, had no real reason to do it other than that nature that we call greed. And it's that greed that made them trade what could have been $25,000 to $50,000 for anywhere for $50,000 to $100,000 they may have made in their salary, given overtime during the pandemic. And so it makes you illogical. Greed will make you very illogical. A lot of the things that we're talking about, that is instinct. And when we talk about instinct versus intelligent, that's where the scam happens. You understand? Your instinct can scam your intelligence. And guess what? Sometimes your intelligence can scam your instincts, because you may have an instinct to do right, but your intelligence may tell you, you know what, everybody else doing it, we can get this easy money. And so your intelligence can scam your instinct. And so see how the scam can work actually both ways on you. I'm not even talking about nobody else, because I'm talking about the scam naturally starts within us, right? I mean, I think for years I've probably been scamming myself or allowed myself to be scammed by myself because you can't explain for baby mamas without some type of scam going on within myself. And so I don't have to really investigate the scam within me and change the scam within me before I can change the scam or begin to change the scams around me. And so I think that's a good place to start.
Absolutely. You know, right on. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said that line about the PPP loan, right? Because I think that it also showed us, in a larger sense, that scamming was natural for everybody, right? Um, that because we live in a country that capitalism and not, I mean, again, capitalism is a way, but I think people then become like so infatuated, like they are with celebrity. Like we have made certain things more popular, uh, and people would like that and do that more. So the quickest, easy way to get popularity, to get wealth, to get money, to be like, hey, I got something. Scams look pretty simple and easy. Like you have people who got I was still the scam. I was talking about PPP loans. I was talking about the kind of like credit card thing that you see very heavy in the young community. But when you look at the bigger part of the scam overall, PPP loans wasn't being done by young poor people. There was some multi-million dollar PPP loans being. Uh, I don't even know. Yeah, I know of people who was literally saying, "Hey, they had employees that they didn't have. They had this that they didn't, just to say, hey, the money was free money, and they was doing But I go back to this: scamming can be a way, but if you ain't scamming with a purpose, it's just like really being a criminal, right? So you're scamming to get more money to do what? Not to I mean, if you take on the Robin Hood mentality, I say, you scam to get the money to build a community center in your community, right? So yeah, initially you scammed all that money, but now you got a community center that serves the elderly, serve the young people, serve food, serve all of it. But again, that would mean that you're thinking about what's the bad outweighing the good of it, not just I'm just gonna take this, get this money, go get me a Lamborghini, go get me some jewels, you know, go buy all of these things. That's really for me and about me. I think that we can know something very clear that, and I'm not professing to be this um, theologian, but I am a historian. I do understand history, and if history serves us right, the people that walked with the one had all those kind of skills, and I think of having those skills, they also taught us that they were able to take those skills and use those skills for the good that the man they follow. And I think
Ron, we can't confuse, and because I was listening to what you're saying, I'm like, listen, I think I heard a guy on the show I used to be on a lot. He said his grandmother once told him that there's no right way to do a wrong thing, and so I don't want people to ever think that there's always a right time to scam because scamming is wrong.
oh
Period.
yeah.
And so
Mhm.
I think we sometimes skew it because you put something on the big screen, and then being a Robin Hood actually serves a purpose, and then it serves a certain type of integrity and morality that says it's all right to scam as long as you scam at this particular group of people, or you're scamming at this particular time, and scamming will never be wrong, or robbing will never be wrong. But I think sometimes we confuse being a Robin Hood with being a revolutionary. And so we can't, because the majority of our heroes throughout history, they were not Robin Hoods, they were revolutionaries, and which is where real change come from. So I would never encourage anybody to be a Robin Hood, but I will encourage you to be a revolutionary, because being a revolutionary is where real change thoughts, which means they will follow the rules, but they will break the rules. You understand? To recreate the rules to make sure it fits everybody. And so, I mean, this
Right.
country, and just if we're going to talk about being a revolutionary, you got to understand, because I don't want people to think that being a revolutionary is just limited to Black Panthers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, no, being a being a revolutionary is unlimited to the very history of the United States. It was revolutionaries that actually gave birth to the United States as we know it today. And so with the Boston Tea Party, etc. And so I think when we put those things into context, I mean, I think somebody once said, I can't remember who it was, but they said, I know it was Martin Luther King that coined it, but I know he got it from somewhere else. When he said, an unjust law is no law at all. And so once you realize that, and you realize the capacity of humanity is being violated, and or better yet, the capacity for liberty and justice for all is being violated, then you're well within your human right to be a revolutionary, not a Robin Hood when it comes to correcting those matters.
Well
Brother
said.
Lightborn, I have a question for you. Are you at liberty to discuss how you scammed yourself and what red flags would you recognize now to prevent that from happening again?
Well, for me, yeah, I can answer that. I was at my core. I'm talking about at my innocence. I wanted to always be married with one wife and have all my children from one woman. That was the one. That was the wish. That was the dream. That was the fairy tale for me. And you wouldn't think that young men would have those type of dreams and aspirations, but I did. And so, because I did want that, the circumstances, the environment, and not just the environment, but I think the social, if not global conditioning, right? Given my pedigree, given maybe even the way I look, given my stature, um, reconditioned me to be the opposite of what I want, right? And so when you um, certain attentions, and I think this is where everything went awry for me. I think it was the attentions, certain attentions that gave birth to my addictions. See how that works? And certain attentions that I was not disciplined enough to have, or just might have appealed to my greed, because greed doesn't always stop at monetary. You can be greedy when it comes to attention. You can be greedy to when it comes to affection. And I think my greed kind of, or they appeal to my greed, or globally, society appeal to my greed, both attentively and attractively. And so when I was in the knowledge that, oh, hey, wait a minute, you are this way and you look this particular way, and you don't have to limit yourself to one person, but you can have options. Then I think I shaped myself within that narrative, right? And then you talk about just being born and conditioned at the birth of hip hop, and I can't blame hip hop, but what I can give an understanding and an explanation to hip hop is a group of young people that would have been naturally and ordinarily supposed to have been overlooked, but some kind of divine light was shined on us as a particular generation. And because you get that light shined on you, and then your appeal actually reflect what is popular, right? Then you tend to develop a natural celebrity per se. And I don't have to tell you that, because if you ever been in school or an environment where you're popular, then you start to serve that popularity versus the integrity that you used to have. And so the popularity types tends to outshine and outgrow the integrity that you used to have, and you turn your back on the integrity and start to serve the popularity. And so that's what happened for me. And so I think I'll probably spend the rest of my life. Um, and I'm always fighting between two people. It's always the advocate fighting against the addict, right? anybody that struggles with anything, I'm talking about that's in a conscious struggle. Let me say that part, because you may have recovered addict, they'll understand more what I'm saying versus somebody that's not conscious of whatever their addiction may be. And so I'm married now. I got a wonderful wife, got a wonderful family. I got everything that I once wanted. So God, it's safe to say that God restored me in my want, but the worship of that is, and the reality of that is the fact that I'm going to the advocate is going to always fight against the addict until the advocate actually conquers the addict. And so I think Joyce might have said it best, that you can't be saved for X amount of years and think that you're saved for 5 years and it's going to conquer um, 30 years worth of conditioning. You understand? You got to give the trouble the amount of time you're going to give. You got to give the triumph the same amount of time you gave the trouble that you had. So I pretty much understand that aspect.
Interesting. To add, we use the term pleasure, pain pursue pleasure, or pleasure pursue pain. And from my research, when I was very taken aback when I found that most scams were against men. I looked at it as a scamming, a female being scammed, and of course, she scammed for her money. But when statistics show that most men are scammed out of their money, and especially in the romance theater, in that network, it's on the rise, and we know that most of the men who are mature, meaning over 65 and older, many of them are lonely. Many of them are in a situation where they're looking for some companionship, if that's the right word. And it's very important that we advocate for that mature audience for more reasons than one. Many of them have saved their money for years and save for a rainy day, only to be all the savings to be taken away. Many of them have what we call moderate dementia, which where certain brain functions are not working correctly. So this scamming, it's hurting a lot of families. Mind you, mind you, it just never right, to be honest, because then that person may have their lives ahead of them. They may be mature, yes, but they have bills, they have medical bills, they have life, they have families, children, and this scamming thing seems to be on the rise. And my concern is that if the younger folks are learning these learned behaviors, what are they going to be in the next couple of years? When if it's the norm, it's a big problem. So we as fathers, we definitely have to educate our children and have open communication about scamming, because again, it's instant gratification. Everyone wants money now, wants a lifestyle now, and people are gonna, as Lightburn says, they're gonna want that, and they're gonna learn how to get their wants fed. So we just have to advocate.
I'm curious that Ed, did Lightborn kind of answer your question? Was it maybe some more that you may have wanted to hear, or because as when you asked him the question, the first thing I thought about is this idea of scamming yourself, and as he began to talk about, I think in many instances we have sometimes as a lot of fathers have scammed themselves, right? And don't even recognize or acknowledge that they have until they are in the time of the later stages of human development, integrity versus despair, right? And then they realize, oh my God, this is what I've done. This is what I've done. This is how I lived my life, and that's what I really wanted. I can agree 100% with Lightborn. As a matter of fact, I was on the course. I had serve the course to have what I considered or wanted to be ideal situation that I had even spent time, presenting to people, talking about, teaching, professing that this is the way that we can solve our communities, we can solve our families. As a man, you find a woman who you want to be a wife with, you marry her, you spend time really getting to know her, and then eventually developing the opportunity to say, are we ready? Do we have the ability to start having children, to provide them the best sacrifices that we can give as parents, that they could be well adjusted, but also still have the old fashioned, um, whippersnapper, I like to say, that we had from generations before, that we've seen our grandmothers and our grandfathers and mothers have, right? But that, I think I scammed myself right out of it. I mean, I scammed myself right out of it, being full of myself, right? Feeling like I was the perfect fit for that to happen. So I was just waiting for that ideal person. And I spent time dealing with people who weren't going to be those people. So sitting around waiting, and I only did that because I had something else that I want to say this. I think that this is where a lot of men fall into. I'm saying myself fell into it a lot of time, is that we need to establish ourselves first, right? So if you're on that mission to find that woman, because there's women that I could have started that family with the way I wanted to prior to getting to who I wanted to be, right? There was always almost a step like, this is an achievement. I'm at a certain place. Oh, here's a woman. Let me begin to see if this can work. And once it doesn't work, let me go on another achievement. Let me go get some more. Let me go get some more quality. Let me go get some more things that will provide me to be a good provider, be the kind of person that I can eventually be and give to a woman, to be a husband to what she needs and how she can need what she needs. But at the same time, still dealing with women in some instance that I wasn't going to really do that with, because they wanted to deal with you. And I say this to men: you have to deal with women that you want to deal with. And sometimes we're so easy to deal with women who just want to deal with us, right? So we'll deal with women who want to deal with us because it's easy. You don't have to, they are putting everything right on the table for you. You eat it all up and the whole 9 yards, and with no problem. Right. But deep down that that's not what you wanted. That's not who you want to be with. That's not for your future. So here's the first part of your scamming yourself. You are, and then you're not. I won't say that you're not all. I'm not gonna say in my instance I was being dishonest, because I wasn't. I was saying exactly that, and that might have been a bigger part of the scam, because I presented what I wanted to be. They seen it and they said, well, it will be good for me to connect with him in this, and I need to make him, because he wants to be that. Like, imagine you tell somebody I want to be a millionaire, right? I want to be in the NFL, and do just some big achievement, and you're talking to them about it, and they see the potential that you can do it. Then 95% of the chance they're saying, hey, this will be beneficial to me, so I'm going to give to this man things. I'm going to provide him, and I'm not just, I'm going to be so accommodating and apart with him that he almost feels like he can't do anything else without me. That it wouldn't be worth his time to go chase a woman who's not presenting any of that he even wants. Like, it's one of those things where you can't have the one, you can't love the one you want, love the one you with. that whole theory. But I think that is scamming yourself. You scam yourself because the one you with may not be the one for you. If the one that you want, guess what? If you think you pushed yourself to a higher level to be a provider and be the man or husband that a woman wants, what you think gonna do for a woman that you go in, as the Lord say, go and get your woman, go and get the woman that you want, and then make her your wife. Not, as I would say, chill and just take all the women who like you, do whatever you want, however you want, and then you be like, hey, I got it all, and then you end up with it all, right? You end up with all the things that you didn't want. So you kind of scam yourself right out of the life that you wanted. But I'll say it's not over because you can still have that. It's just not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same that how you wanted it.
But, Ron, okay, we're talking about relationships, and I can just do it in a simpler. To add to that, a very valid point. I remember years ago I saw an advert, and they said people are driving a car to go to work, right? They're driving the car, and they ask them, if you have the opportunity to drive the car that you want, stop and come out of your car. Just think about what I just said to you. So they're driving the car to work, or they need the car to go to work, right? And here's the opportunity to go into the car that you want. Do you know that almost 90% of people stop the car and came out of the car? So many people are in a relationship that it is maybe transactional, maybe it's what in front of them that they can use right now, but that's not necessarily what they want. If they were given the opportunity to go into another car, they would come out of the car, close the door, and go into the car that they really want. And even then, when they go into the car that they really want, it doesn't mean that they're going to like that car for the next 10 years. Because human beings tend to, I wouldn't say want more, but after a while, they get tired of the same car. They love the car when they first got the car, but 5 years in the road, they said, you know what, I like a new car right now.
That's terrible. I don't like that analogy. That's terrible. I'm not.
Like boy. I think that here's the point where sometimes when we make an analogy, right, it doesn't work, right? Because a car and a partner can't compare, right? Okay. As soon as you get that car, it appreciates. Right. You could get a partner who is not anything, and then over the years can be the best thing that you ever had. And that's the difference. You can grow it. So it's so difficult and I know this because I'm an analogy person. I make more analogies and metaphors, and people be like, "Where did you get this idea? Where you come up with that?" But you have to also keep it in context. When we're talking about being with someone for the rest of our life, cars are not, human beings are not eternal, but cars are definitely not something that, listen, because guess who makes them? Man. God made us. So he gave us skills that cars don't have. He gave us things, gave us ways to be able to, a car can only do one thing, drive. We can transform as a human being at any time. So we can be one way today and we can transform and be a whole nother way tomorrow. And people be like, is that the same person? Do they even operate? Do they even move the same way? And no, they don't, because we're able to do that transformation that happens. And that's the uniqueness of being a human being. I mean, for us. But I the analogy is good, and I know that light bulb is about to bring. About to bring the switch to you. Switch off the tree and come and spank you. But I jump in there and take the spank for you, because I hear the analogy, but I will say we have to put analogies in the right context.
Well, no, listen, we know Rohan. We know Rohan, but the women that's watching may not. So
Let me say this. Let me say this clearly, because I want to say it out there. Since we're going broad, women complain that men don't stick around. This is what I hear on my end. You meet them, they just don't stick around. They move on to another female, or they move on to another relationships. No, I'm not saying that all men are like that. I'm not saying all women are like that. I'm just saying that people, you'll be surprised what motivates people, if that's the right word.
Well, Rohan, I think statistics say otherwise, though, about that.
Okay.
I think that we have a society that presents men in a way that's not really them. That's a scam. There's a scam. When you talk about what I've experienced and what I've researched and what I've seen, when men have made the commitment to what they're doing, they do it. They don't think about another great idea. They want to take this idea and take it to the farthest that they can take it, as much as they can do it. Because they, and again, I'm going to tell you what, and it's like, when you're going to like this and you're going to pat me on the back. Because of the inequality that men and women have, right? Men have the privilege to be able to take something and say, I can take this all the way, and everybody will ride the train with them to the end. In the senses that people say women are wishy-washy, oh, they can turn out at any minute, this and that. And that's not an excuse for them to break their commitments or change their mind or do that. It's not an excuse, but understand that it's a condition. They are conditioned to a point to say, I got to think about what makes something better for me, because there is this point that so much. I remember when I was in in college, and I had a college girlfriend, and the one thing she hated more than anything else was that people defined her through me. I mean, it steamed her, because she was like, I am my own person. I am me. And she was, and guess what? That's why I liked her, because she was her own person, and she was, because that's the only reason I was with her. Because if she wasn't like that, I probably would have just whatever, you just riding on the wings, like you like a little leechy here, leech there, and I'm gonna get all of what I need to get while you leech, right? But it wasn't that. She was her own person, and I think that when you're young, as we were, there is an opportunity for us to have been that couple, but we were too young, and things happened that made it all just, Can I say this all the time? Even sometimes I mean, I've talked to her sometime, and I literally said to her in the conversation is that if one thing wouldn't have happened, there's a good chance that we would be married right now with how many kids, the whole gamut. And in saying that, because when I graduated college, I was ready to live life, right? I was ready to start this fantasy, not the fantasy, but the fatherhood dream. Let me say that. The fatherhood dream that was made, that you go get a job, you have the money, you find the woman, you marry her, you enjoy her, then next thing you know, within 3 to 4 years, you're having kids, you're then you're redeveloping, eventually those kids all leave the house. When they leave the house, you redevelop your relationship, you then travel, then spend the rest of your life traveling because I seen those kind of things. When I was when I left college, I still had seen this couple who was in the Peace Corps. I forget their name. Mary and Ed was their name. Mary and Ed. They had been retired. They had grown children, and they had said that instead of, they sold all their stuff and signed up and was in the Peace Corps, just traveled to different sites, working at different sites together. Now when I seen that, I said, see, I might get something like that in my life where eventually that can happen. But we con ourselves, we scam ourselves into other things while we waiting to get to that. So we tell her it's okay. It's okay just to drink a little bit of the wine. The next thing we know, we drunk, and it's nothing you can do. I only gonna sip some of this wine. I ain't buying the bottle. I'm just gonna take a sip. I'm gonna take a sip. I'm gonna take another sip. Like when you go in the grocery store, you supposed to be cooking yourself. You go in the grocery store to buy food. See, here going a great analogy. You go into the grocery store to go buy some food that you're gonna cook, and in every aisle you eating something that they giving free. You eating. By the time you get to the register, you don't even want to buy the food because you full.
You're a man of the own heart, Ron.
These are the that make it simple.
It's not just the grocery store. You're talking about the mall with the samples.
Right. I'm talking everything. You plan to go do one thing, and there's so many things to distract you, to make you feel pleasureful, whatever, that you do it. And by the end of the time you get there, what you plan to do, you don't even want to do because you already intake in so much else. And then, let me say one little last point, because this is important, and I think somebody was saying this a while ago, and I'm about to go into my sexual hat, put my sex hat on, put the sex hat on, because this is also what ends up happening. You begin to get everything that you want the way you want it in those type of relationships. So when you meet somebody who you could be with, right, you want them to do what you've been doing or how you've been doing it. And they may not be able to do that because it doesn't fit for them. And you then tell yourself, this woman not a good fit for me because she don't do this or do that. Because I've been doing this, that with Sue, Mary, Carrie, KK, Wana. You know, I got all I need, and this woman ain't ready to fulfill none of that the way I think she should. And now you lost this woman because you came in there with all of it. You already got too much. Sometimes you got to release some of it and say, I'm gonna start over new. I'm gonna come to her, and she can be all brand new. She can be different than she don't have to be anything. She can be a clean, and I'm gonna look at it, and I'm going. But you got to clean this. I say this, my brothers. We have to clean ourselves. Yes. Clean our. We got to take the detox. We got to do some kind of thing. That's starting to sound like preacher. I don't want to sound like preacher, but I'm just thinking, and I'm saying this all not only to people, but I said it because this is also what I experienced, and I realized. I even realize it sometimes in my present relationship of what my expectation is, or what I think should happen, and this and that, and I have to check myself and say, listen, but that's not what you're doing here. You're doing something different. You can't just say this not what I'm a spoiled brat. I want this. I don't get this. I'm gonna go get what I want. No, then you're not committed to working and developing. You just want what you want when you want it, and you're never gonna really be successful, because if you want what you want when you want it, you never get enough.
Well, I want to say this, and Teeny, because I'm gonna give you the floor. My wife is always really, and this is I'm talking about my wife now, Teeny, right? She's always talking about how much she admires you, or whatever the case may be, your disposition, your history, and the story you shared about being, I guess if I want to say philosophically, or even technically, or just literally a hopeless romantic. You understand? It's very rare that you can see a man that really believes in love, and you do. And so she admired that, and I told her, I said, you know what? I could be jealous of it, but I said, you know what? The truth of the matter is I'm not threatened by it, so I admire it as well, right? And so because it gives me something to aspire for, right? So it inspires me to aspire, right? The fact that, wow, it's still men out there to remind me of what I used to want. Doesn't make any sense. Like, appeal to my innocence. Because I don't want any man out there to think that his innocence is dead. Your innocence is still alive. And the reason it's still alive, and it's probably more energetic than anybody else, is because you never fed it. But if you feed it, no telling. I think your innocence is where your integrity actually lives. And so I've seen some men who would have probably been by the scope of things and terrible, right? That really transform or evolve to be something um, triumphant when it comes to this world. I remember I was a very popular pastor. I don't know who that pastor is. I'm pretty sure he's a white evangelical, and he went on to become this very great um, evangelist. But and he always tell his wife because he inflicted the trauma on her, and so I think he owed it to her, and he always uses it as a testimony that he said that his wife was saved first. She used to go to Bible study, go to church or whatever the case may be. He was anti-church, anti-Bible study. And what happened was he began to mistreat her because, again, no man wants to compete against any man, especially when it comes to God. And I'm going to say that, I can say that emphatically. People now, I'm like, listen, men are not, and this is how big our ego is. We're not even willing to compete against God as if we can. But this particular guy, he said that his wife would go to church, go to Bible study, and he would mistreat her. So what he would do is, particularly when she go to Bible study, his Bible study is usually at night. If she don't come home in time enough, he'll lock the door, and he'll lock the door. She don't try to get in. She'll literally sleep outside, like on that doorstep, and then when he let her in, she'll come in and make his breakfast and act like it never happened. I'm saying that to say this. I had a barber, Mr. Brooks. I never forgot his name because anybody that's important to you, you shouldn't get their name. He used to tell me in my sleep. He'd get him. I get in my chair. You remember back then, Ron? They didn't cut the fades. He used to cut fifis.
Right.
He didn't cut me a fade. I wanted a fade. He cut me a fifi. He's like up in age. So Mr. Brooks, I sit in the chair, and I mean like clockwork. The minute I sit in this chair, I go to sleep. You think he would care? He would start talking as if I was awake. I'm knocked out. And I think I used to try to go to sleep on purpose just to not hear what he said. And I remember one time, keep in mind, I'm probably like a 12 or between 12 and 14. He's about 75 at this particular point. And he's just talking. And then he started, before he put the blade on you, he's already talking. And so I'll fall asleep probably like 30 minutes or an hour later. He done finished my hair. And I'm looking out. He ain't cut the fade, he cut the fifi. But I remember one particular thing he said that was very important to me. He said, young man, my dad once told me, was it granddad? He said, my dad once told me, son, don't marry the woman you love, marry the woman that loves you. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck. Don't ask me why. It's just certain things that God just get to you that's going to trouble you probably for the rest of your life. And that advice haunted me so long that I'm living it now. And I couldn't understand what he was saying then, but I understand now because you can't have 4 baby mamas and have that type of lesson and not understand. So we're talking about life lessons. And so I understood that the woman that I'm married to is not the woman I love, it's the woman that loves me, right? Because the truth of the matter, I think what he was saying is a man don't know much about love because society and globally we're not conditioned to love. And so what he was saying is you need to marry someone who can mentor you how to love. You understand? And so since women are so conditioned to love since birth, they're the ones who are given dolls and things to actually care about. Mm-hmm. You understand? Well, we're given things as boys to play with. And so when it comes to relationship, you're going to have 2 sets of mentalities. You're going to have one set of mentality that a person is conditioned to love and care about, and the other one is conditioned to play with, right? And so you get 4 baby mamas by being conditioned to play with people who were conditioned to care and love about it, and love you. And so when he said that, and I can't throw no shade on none of my kids' mother because all of them are wives to somebody else. You see how that works. And so with that, I pay homage to their husbands for being the men that learned how to love them. But I'm also I have to pay homage to myself for evolving into the man that learned how to love a woman that knew how to love me when she met me. So it's a lot of things when we talk about when it comes to men. When we say and men, we pride ourselves on this. This is the man's mantra right here. Our word is our bond, right? And so when you say your word is your bond, what that looks like philosophically and scientifically is the fact that if your word is your bond, then you're more objective driven, right, than option driven. The problem with that is when the option, back to your point, Ron, when the options kick in, the objectives disappoint. So when we start to focus more on the options, we turned our back on the objectives, and we never knew what it was. So we became the options and not the objective. And so when a man gets more options than objective, then he's going to compromise in his integrity. As a man, you should always know what it is, what your objective is. Like company, any Fortune 500 company tell you their company is driven by the objective. Well, the same thing drives men. And if you're more taken away or you're more distracted by your objective, I mean, you by your options than you is by your objective, or you value your options over your objectives, then that's the type of man you're going to wind up being. If that makes any sense.
It does, especially when you brought in the advice from your barber, because that is a truth that I believe is not necessarily, what is it, advertised, publicized, um, marketed. That's a truth that's just not marketed to males in our approach to pursuing relationships, because we're often the pursuers, and once the prey, if you will, has relented from our pursuit, then we feel a sense of accomplishment, and then we follow through, and that person you may have pursued may not know how to love you, and I just take that as wise words. And when you mentioned earlier about scamming yourself, I can then see in my mind's eye how I probably fell victim to to my own pursuits, if you will. So I appreciate those words of wisdom. Thank you.
You said. I'm just going to say this. I think that it is so important that this conversation we're having, right, is for the 5 people that's watching, whoever they is, they are getting some insightful things for them to go and talk about and think about for themselves, especially for young men who might be trying to figure out what they're doing, how they're doing, what they're going to do relationship wise, or how to even approach this idea of getting to relationship to be fatherhood, right? That's a big thing that we know, because here you have 2 men who openly said that they had the idea of fatherhood that came immediately through marriage, and we didn't get. That's not what we ended up. That's not where that's not the path we ended up getting. And look, you talking one started early enough that, and then one that definitely was had all of everything that you could put, all the boundaries, focus, battling the swords, and all this, and still did not end in the same in what you saved yourself to do. Putting yourself, putting yourself in that position, because what happens is, and I say this to Lightborn, it means that you have to really be strong, right? Because you know of all that you already have, right? And then you're going to bring that to another place. The other person has to accept all of that, right? And you got to also not hold it against yourself, because in your mind, right, you knew what you wanted, and here you're about to get part of what you want, right? Maybe not the way you wanted to get it, but you're getting what you want. And it really, when you really notice, you see it becomes dynamic. It's like, this is what I wanted. Only thing is, and I would say that sometimes we find ourselves maybe even looking at the regret of not being the way we wanted. And I think that you got to let that go. I think that I say to people out there, you let that go, because you can't cry over spilled milk, because you got a giant cow right there in front of you. That spilled milk it's done. But you got a cow in front of you where you can make more milk, you can make some cheese, you can you can make all kinds of dairy with that cow that you have. Quit worrying about the milk that you spilled in the past. That was processed anyway. You got something that you can develop, put together. So, these kind of things, as we have these conversations and we talk week to week, this is the reason why I think that we say that it's almost religious for us to be here. Because I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna leave off of here tonight, sharing what I shared, listening to what I've listened to, and feel better about, and have a clearer mind of decisions I need to make in reference to being a father, in reference to being a man in a relationship with a partner, and when I'm a husband, being a better husband. All these things are what I think men more need. Like, a lot of times, listen, as a therapist, I would tell you it's great to come in, go to your therapist, and you and them talk, right? It's wonderful, right? But I think I have learned and continue to say to men, it'll be better to find a group of men who's dealing with what you're dealing with and go sit with them. Or even just a group of people who dealing with what you're dealing with and sit with them, because you have so much more to hear, take, put in than you and a single person one-on-one. Now, that sounds like a professional suicide that I'm suggesting based on my career, right? Based on what I do. But I can't lie. I can't lie to you what I see to probably be, and what I find for many people to be more successful. For one, the commitment of it. The commitment is, you develop a commitment with so many people in this group that you don't want to let them down. You don't want them to let them. You want to be. It's like being in Cheers. I'm dating myself. People who know what Cheers is. It's like you want to go to that place where everybody know your name. Always glad you came. You want to be where you can be free, and everybody know. All those great things. I don't know. It's kind of old. I don't know this stuff. I know that. I remember that part. And that's what I feel like the think tank is, a place where I can come, and I hope that people feel like they can come and feel free to just kind of like, even just to not, and a great part is not even have to talk. I've said this for years. It's not even a place where you really need to even talk. You can just sit here and listen and think to yourself. But I'll tell you one thing that happens. I've seen many people come in and say they're not going to talk. They just want to observe. They just want to listen in. But the incitement of what happens inside them as they're listening to other people, as they're analyzing the conversation, something sparks in them that they got to share. Not to share, but they want to clarify. They want more information. They want to hear more. And next thing you know, they're sucked into the fatherhood experience. And that's important. I mean, it's one thing to be sucking people into nonsense and foolishness and deceit and hate type of talk and disenfranchisement. I see people pulling people into that all the time. It's another thing to pull people into empowerment, um, unity, community strength, ironing, sharpening iron. And a lot of people hear that and they think iron sharpening iron sounds so rough. But you got to understand that iron sharpening iron means that the two objects are together and they're connected with each other, so it's not getting hurt. Say iron is sharpening wood, well, we know one of them about to fail, right? That wood about to be cut up, but the iron ain't gonna be cut up. It's gonna sharpen each other, and gonna sharpen each other the way that it needs to be sharpened, with the edge that they can give each other, with the cuts, with the impressment of what you can understand. And so I can't ever let a night go by and we hear not just thank you guys for being here to present this. Even and the great part is we not just, I remember back in the day we was just presenting this to ourselves by ourselves on private Zoom meetings, right? And some of the great, listen, I'm telling you, some great things was happening in there and no one ever got to see it. It's like one of them, like the, you know, like the old basketball stories, the old basketball court stories. Be like, oh man, they ran everybody off the court. They man had a triple double in the park. You know, we never seen it. We never got to see it. New technology, they can see these triple doubles that Lightborn throwing up. They can get some of them block shots that Ed is blocking. You know, you can really get to see it, you know, and I think that's a great part. So they can go back and look at it anytime when they get ready, and you know, and look, as I continue to always say, I welcome anybody to, you know, want to come and even, you know, talk to us. I don't think I know this. I don't throw that kind of thing. I'll come and debate. No, it's nothing to debate. We don't have nothing to debate. Debating is for people who got to prove some point to somebody else about something. Fatherhood is fatherhood, and we all have our way to do it. We can look, what we can do is come together and see how it's similar and how we can learn from the similarities in the room and go out and do something different. And I'm not saying, well, Dad, do this and that, because I think that's the part that is different about our content and how it operates. And that's why we feel good when we leave it. I've been involved with platforms, and I leave there, I'll be like, I ain't going back. I don't care what they say, I ain't going back. I just, my blood pressure high after trying to argue, and my eyes red, twitching, because people saying the most, you know, craziest things. But I remember it's all just for likes and shares, and not for the people who doing it to get something out of it and to give. It's for them to try to just get something that they put on the show and act. And as I tell people, we not here. We come here from our jobs, from our work, and we just, you know, come and sit here. And again, I tell people this idea of how this operated, even when I wrote it in my dissertation, was geared from my experiences of going to NA and AA meetings. And I thought the aura and how NA and AA meetings worked for the people that showed up. Not like what you see on TV, because if you've never been to one for real, it's not like what you see on TV. They show you, people always show you stuff on TV that's nothing like what's the real thing. We walk in one of those meetings, and I consider that as a person not in NA, never took a drink or smoke or anything in my life, but attending those meetings on the regularly, you would never, no one made me feel any kind of way. I always felt welcome. No one felt funny about, you know, anything, and you felt like you was right at home and you felt the support for whatever you was facing. And I felt if I left out of there, I feel like, yo, I can take on the world. So now when we have this platform that's geared to exactly what we all about, fatherhood, and through fatherhood being a better man and man who's a father, definitely we leave here feeling a-okay, letting being able to have a place to come and make the testimony like they do. They're going to be able to go and make a testimony and say, well, this is our testimony we make in this and that, in this. Now you say, well, we can do the same thing here. And it's not about anything about, feeling insecure, looking insecure, because there's nothing insecure about being a father and learning and knowing that you can learn. Everybody can learn. Everybody, the oldest man can learn something. That old saying, can't teach old dog new tricks, that's a lie. You can't teach him. It's just how you gonna teach him. He ain't gonna do what the young dogs do, but he can do what the old dogs do, and you'll be surprised how he works out, because sometimes those old dogs will work smarter, not harder. So,
yeah, you at time.
Yeah, I know. I'm that time. I'm full of euphoria right now. I feel so like I almost want to say it's amazing as I come back around. We put these topics out here, right? And I know that people probably looking at what are these topics and where do you get this from and how it operates, but the topics don't mean anything. I realize this now. It's you guys. It's the people that's here, and what we end up talking about sometimes don't even matter. It's what we're saying, how we're saying it, and presenting it to each other and for everybody who's watching. That really matters. So we probably can have a show about taking a crap, right? Guy taking shit. I hope that don't give us a strike, but guy taking shit. And people leave here saying, "Whoa, that smelled beautiful. I smell so good. I feel so good about that show." Because it's not what it is, and not what the title is about. What we do with it and how we operate. And I think that I definitely today I want to really appreciate you guys for what you guys provide, not just to me, but to our larger audience, the people who are watching. And because I get the feedback, and let me say this, I get the feedback. I get what people say. I've never got a negative. Only thing I ever got negative was the guy telling us that his we was using his show, Fatherhood Talks Live. He said that we was copyrighting his talk when he had no fatherhood ever talking anytime. But that's cool. But I'll say this, that definitely I've never heard anybody ever nothing but say that they really enjoyed our conversations. At least the people have the attention to listen to the whole thing. We know that's a whole other story, the attention to listen. So again, guys, I want to thank you. I want to thank people out there. Again, I will say to you, like, share, subscribe. Remember, we're sponsored by Data Chi Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fort Lauderdale and Jag Law One, Johnny Gaspar Esquire is our major sponsors. Definitely want to keep them praised up and support what they have to do as they have continued to support us being here. Any last words, guys, before I kick us out of here and get us on the road?
Well, I'll put one in.
Yeah, I know. One last thing. Go ahead. One for the road, Sam.
Yeah, real quick. Scams are here. Scams are going to increase if it becomes the culture, and if it's most times done out of being desperate and being greedy. Scams to avoid. What anything that sounds not true. Anything that you have that gut feeling that this isn't right, avoid that scam, because they're coming to you left, right, and center. You gotta somebody have to be fact checking these people who are trying to take your money. So I would say to every father out there and everyone, just go with the gut feeling. If it don't sound right, it ain't right. That's what I have to say.
And I'll just add just a little bit onto this icing on what you said. Don't get so comfortable thinking that everything is working your way, right? Don't, that's how it works. You feel like, hey, oh man, look at this blessing, but is it really a blessing? First of all, ask yourself, do you deserve blessings, right? That you're gonna get this big of a blessing. That what I really say. Are you that deserving of that big of a blessing? Because if not, you might be getting ready to get upset because they think they thrive on that. So I say that and be mindful. And I ain't just talking about the scammers. I'm talking about with the money thing. I'm talking about what we talked about when I was talking about out here with these significant partners are the suitors that you suit, the suitors and how you suit them. I say that, don't everything it ain't like you think it is, and everything ain't about you. So remember that everything's about us. Some things they are human beings. They got stuff going on too. So don't think that the world's sitting around you. I know that's one thing that we have. With that being said, I like to thank again these extraordinary guys, Lightborn, Eddie, and Rohan, and repeat after me. I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am.
I am.
I am.
I
I am.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I am.
I
I
am.
am.
I am.
I am.
I am a man of respect.
I
I
am
am a man of respect.
I say, brothers, I say that I am.
I am.
I say that you are.
You
You
are.
are.
I say that we are.
We
We
are.
are.
Championship
Fathers.
I say that all the time. We have our children hanging on our arms, our families on our backs, and moving forward to keep fatherhood striving. Thank you. We'll see you all here next week, same time, same channel, and doing the same thing. 60 to 90 minutes of intellectual conversation by fathers, for fathers, about fathers. Good night.
Good evening.